faster and wrap this up, because I'm not going to do the bottom string because it repeats and because I'm tired. So we're going to go down to this one. Here's the F. So we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to go from the first to the second in shape, second to the third in shape, but then instead of going to this fourth, I'm going to skip down to this string, to that fourth, and then move up along this fourth. So I'm going to say this is going to be, the first is going to be here. 1 to the 2 is a whole step, Ionian to Dorian. 2 to the 3 is a whole step, Dorian to the Phrygian. The 3 to the 4 is a half step, but instead of going to this F, I'm going to move it down to this F. Sounds a little wonky because we're jumping up an octave, but that's the idea. Okay, so I'm going to walk up to this F down here, and then I'm going to move up on this string. Now, what's that distance? It should be a half step. I was going to go a half step here. I'm going up here. Now, again, you could think, well, it's an octave higher. That's why it sounds a little wonky, but it's from this perspective of a circle, it would just be a half step, right? So how can I count that out? How can I prove that? Because it would be 5, 10. Here's the fault line, shifting this tectonic plate to the right. Therefore, if I want another 5, I have to go this way to get to 15. 15 minus 12 is 3, 2, 1. So that's going to be a half step from that E. Okay, so if I played that F down there, from the perspective of the E, it's a half step. Now from the perspective of the C, what is it? It's a 5-note away perfect fourth, right? How can I prove that? Because it would be from here, 5, 10, 15. 15 minus 12 is 3. This tectonic plate shifts to the right. So I'm going to say 3 plus 5 is 8. 7, 8, 7, 6, 5. 5-note away, perfect fourth. So, and if I was to convert this E to look at it in the Phrygian mode, making it the first, I would say the absolute mode number 3, Phrygian, minus 2 to make it the 1, would make it the 1 of the Phrygian. And then if I'm looking at the F, which is the Lydian, I'd have to say, well, that's absolute mode number 4 minus 2 would bring it to the second position. So I would be going from the 1 of the Phrygian to the 2 of the Phrygian, right? So here's the Phrygian. I would be going from the E, the 1 of the Phrygian, to relative position 2 of the Phrygian, if I looked at it from that perspective. Okay, so let's go back up again, and let's count this through. So now we're going from the, from the 4, so now we're going from the 4 to the 5. So from the 4th to the 5th is going to be a whole step. So 4th to the 5th is going to be a whole step, going from the Phrygian to the Mixolydian. Whole step from the 4 to the 5 is a whole step, going from the Lydian to the Mixolydian, Lydian to the Mixolydian. All right, and then the Mixolydian lives with the hamburger meat of the hamburger shape hanging with the Aeolian, and then we're going to go, and so that means that this G compared to the C, if I compared it to the C, is going to be a 7-note away perfect fifth. So how can I prove that? 7 notes away, I can say it's going to be 5, 10, 15. 15 minus 12 is 3, plus another 5 is 8, and then 7 back here. What if I compared it to the Phrygian? Well, if I compared it to the Phrygian, I'd make the absolute mode number 3 back to the 1. 3 minus 2 is 1, making it absolute mode number 1. And absolute mode number 5, Mixolydian, minus 2, 5, 4, 3. So it would be from the Phrygian's perspective, the 1 to the 3. Let's double check that. From Phrygian's perspective, it would be relative position 1, absolute mode number 3, to relative position 3, absolute mode number 5, the Mixolydian. The distance then would be a 3-note away minor third between those two. How can I prove that? If I'm going from here to here, it would be 5, 10, and then 15 moving this way. 15 minus 12 is 3. Okay, so then let's go from that G to the A. From the G to the A is going to be going from the 5th to the 6th. So now I'm going from the 5th to the 6th. So a whole step. 5th to the 6th is a whole step. And the Mixolydian, absolute mode number 5 to absolute mode number 6, Aeolian, Mixolydian to Aeolian is a whole step. So then the Aeolian, if I compared it to the C, the root is going to be a 9 note away major 6. How can I prove that? Because it's going to be 5, 10, 15. 15 minus 12 is 3. Going diagonal because the fault line shifts up. It's going to be 3 plus 5 is 8. And then another one is 9. 9 note away. What if I compared it to the E? The E is absolute mode number 3. To get it to the first, 3 minus 2 brings it to the 1. And the absolute mode number 6 minus 2, 6, 5, 4. So from the perspective of the Phrygian, it would be going from the first to the fourth. From the first to the fourth of the Phrygian would be going from E, the first to the fourth, but would still be absolute mode number 3 Phrygian to absolute mode number 6 Aeolian, which is always going to be a distance of a 5 note away perfect fourth. How can I prove that? If I count it from here, 5 notes away, it's going to be 5, 10, and then 15 because this shifted to the right. 15 minus 12 is going to be 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then let's move to the next one. We're going to go to the sixth is a whole step. So 6 is a whole step here, and we're going to go to from the 6 to the 7. From the 6 to the 7 is a whole step. Okay, 6 to, and then 6 to the 7, 6 to the 7. I think I've got that. So now we're going to go from this A6 to the 7, which is Aeolian to the Locrian. Absolute mode number 6, Aeolian to absolute mode number 7, Locrian. The Locrian is in the box. Here's the box. So it's right behind the C, just like it is up top. And so that's going to be that. If I look at the distance or the interval related to the C up top, let's say here, related to the C, that would be an interval of an 11 note away major 7. How can I double check that? Because it would be 5, 10, 15. 15 minus 12 is 3, plus another 5 is 8, shifted up this way because of the kink in the tuning. 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, what is it with respect to the E? Well, the E is the Phrygian, absolute mode number 3. To bring it to 1 would be subtracting 2, and absolute mode number 7 minus an equivalent to 7, 6, 5. So it would be equivalent to, from the Phrygian's perspective, the first of the Phrygian to the 5th of the Phrygian. Let's look at that down here, Phrygian. If I look at the first of the Phrygian, now being the E, then we go to the 5th of the Phrygian, which is now absolute mode number 7, the Locrian. We're still going from E to B, from Phrygian to Locrian. Therefore, whenever I go from Phrygian to Locrian, we know that's going to be a 7 note away perfect 5th. So if I go up top and check that, is it a 7 note away perfect 5th? Let's count it from the E, 5, 10, and then 15 out this way. So 15 minus 12 is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there we have it. All right, that B also repeats over here. We have the open B in open position. Okay, so then we're going to say, let's go from the 7 to the 8, which is going to be a half step. 8 could also be 1, going around the top, around the horn. 7 to 8 is a half step, going from, I'm going to say the open B here to the C, open B to the C, or going from Locrian to Ionian. So now we're on the C, which is of course the octave. This note is an octave of this C. And so it lives up at the top of the house, just as this one does. And we're going to say then from the perspective of the E, what is that? Well, from the perspective of the E, E is the Phrygian. Phrygian minus 2 to get it to the first is minus 2. And then that means that the Ionian minus 2 would bring us to 1. 1 minus 2 would be 0, and then negative 1. And to bring it positive, we take 7 minus 1, which would bring it to 6. So from the Phrygian's perspective, it would be the first to the sixth. So let's check that out in Phrygian to double check it. So we have relative position 1 of absolute mode number 3 Phrygian to relative position 6 absolute mode number 1 Ionian. We're still going from E to D, and that means that anytime we go from the Phrygian to the Ionian, we get a distance of an 8 note away minor 6. Let's double check that up here. 8 note away minor 6 is going to be from this E, 5, 10, and then 15 out this way because the fault line shifts to the right. 15 minus 12 is 3, 2, 1, 0, or octave, or 12, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. Okay, so then let's go from the first to the second. So we're going to go from the first to the second, and then we'll go here from the first to the second. Okay, that's not the second, to the D. It's a whole step. So from the first to the second is a whole step. From here, from that C or Ionian to this D, which is the Dorian, right? Okay. So that D is the Dorian now. I can compare it to the C up top. So comparing this C to that D is going to be a 2 note away major second. 2 note away major second. What if I compared it to the E, which is the Phrygian, which would be 3 minus 2 to get it to 1, which would make it the 1. That means I would subtract 2 from absolute mode number 2, Dorian. 2 minus 2 is 0, but I have to have 7, so 7 minus 0 would be the 7. So from the perspective of the Phrygian, it would be relative position 1 of the Phrygian to relative position 7 of the Phrygian. Let's look at the Phrygian. So now we have the E is now relative position 1 of absolute mode number 3 Phrygian to the D, which is now relative position 7, absolute mode number 2 Dorian. So anytime we're going from a Phrygian to a Dorian, the interval is going to be a 10 note away minor 7. Let's double check that. 10 note away minor 7 would be 5, 10, 15, because this fault line shifts to the right. 15 minus 12 is going to be negative 3, 2, 1, 0, or 12, 12, 11, 10. 10 note away minor 7. I think that's right. Okay. And then if I go from the second back home, I'm sorry, from the second to the third, from the second to the third, we're going from the Dorian to the Phrygian. Dorian to the Phrygian. So we're going from this D, Dorian, to the Phrygian, and that's going to be a whole step. So we have a whole step there, and so now we're on the E. The E with relation to the C was a 4 note away major third, which we can count up by saying it's going to be 5, 10, 15. 15 minus 12 is 3, plus another 5, shifting the tectonic plate up. Hold on, que paso. Shifting this tectonic plate up. So it's going to be 5, 10, 15. And then 15 minus 12. What happened? 15 minus 12 is, let's see, 5, 10, and then 15. What did I just do here? I'm counting it up from that C. So, oh no, it's all falling apart. Everything is falling apart. I can't do it anymore. 5, 10, 15. 15 minus 12 is 3, plus another 5 is 8. 7, 6, 5, 4. So 4 note away major third. All right, my head is dying. I think I'm getting a little bit more in a pattern here that we're working on. So again, hopefully I'll get comfortable enough that I can do this a lot quicker and more succinctly as we go and look at these patterns from different perspectives in a way that'll kind of drill it in our mind, and then hopefully get to the point where I can do it in reverse as well, so we can start looking at the pattern going backwards the other way.